Okay.
Yes, this is another meeting in progress.
Yeah, we gotta clean this up. I don't know why there's two of these.
Well,
Which
they
one's
both
what?
have the same.
I know, but which one's what?
It's the same. It's just another calendar that it's in for you. They're the same link.
I know, that's coming in.
Oh, you're already in it.
So, hey, Dre,
Yes.
there's people on the other account.
Participants.
So we got 23 on this.
Yep. Click on
Yeah,
that and then click
there's people on the other account, I was just in there.
Okay, I'll log in and
Go
I'll.
on there and get them all linked for this.
Okay.
Okay.
And then
Thanks.
okay, they're still panelists.
Okay.
And then you guys gonna make us panelists.
Is
Yeah.
there- Bobby's a panelist. You're not on there. Okay, let's. So go to attendees.
Right now I just see people.
Yeah.
Oh, back to attendees. Okay.
Yeah.
Click more. Promote to panelists.
All these guys?
Well, not everybody. No. Just the people that you want. Craig.
The guys in the panels, Matt Battiani, Bobby.
Nope, you're on Dale right now.
Okay, watch out with your finger. I can't see anything. Okay.
Is there any way to make everybody a panelist when they log in?
No, but we don't want that.
No, not everybody, but the panelists that are supposed to be. Is there a way to do it so that we don't have to do it every time?
Hold on, we're getting this set.
Good morning, guys.
Okay, bye. Thanks.
Yeah. I never had to do this before, so this is kind of weird.
Because this is the webinar.
Oh. Very cool. Sorry, I'm going through all this. You should be on there. I made you a panelist. I think you have the wrong link.
We hear you. Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's an old link
Talk
floating.
to now. Let me get Matt. Matt's on there.
I'm here.
Okay. Is that it?
I saw Craig Lurch come in.
He did allow to talk, but you have to promote him to panelist.
Oh,
Yep.
Mitch?
Yep, promote to panelist.
Oh, okay.
There you go. Thank you.
Hey, we're getting the hang of this after 10 weeks, you know? We're getting there. We're getting there. No worries.
I'm gonna hang up.
All right, Mitch is there. Who else is on? Let's see.
Get
this going.
Dre, we get.
Just letting you guys, it's only 76 degrees out here in San Diego right now. So the only one who's jealous is Craig Lurch. Everybody else is Brian Yarbers up in Montana, and Bobby's down the street. He got his hair done last night. He's looking pretty good. I saw your ad on TV. It was awesome.
Oh, thanks, man.
I was ready to sell my house and move on up.
Hey, that's what it's all about, baby. Moving on up.
Listen, if I had one of those things that they do at radio stations, I would have had the Jeffersons playing, you know, the Wheezy song. Moving on up, right?
Well, back in 2005, when I launched my website, Move Up San Diego, we actually had that song playing when you arrived on the site. So it was quite fun.
That's funny. Oh my God, that's awesome. Oh my God, that's the best. Sorry, I'm trying to.
Hey, Pete, is Dre posting that in that other link to get those people over here?
I believe so. Yeah, she's doing that right now. So I mean, we have 43 on here right now. So 44.
There were a bunch on there there was a bunch in the other one when I was over there.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll
By the way, Pete, we're a balmy 51 today.
Wow, that's good for Philly.
I'm telling you, it's all good. No ice.
You're doing all right. You know. So let me
just
let's see here. See who else we got rolling in this thing. Now this is a new system, so we're doing this right, Mitch, where it's live.
What was that?
We're doing this where it's live today, right?
Yeah.
She has.
I don't know if Dre made it live or not.
How do we do that?
Dre knows.
Live on Workplace by Facebook, or live on YouTube, or live on
Live
Facebook?
on Workplace.
Okay, I just did it. I'm
Okay,
getting
then you
better
have to
with
go.
my technology.
But then you have to go to the right. I know that's. You're scaring me. You got to go to the right group. You have to go to the tribe.
Okay. Group. Okay. Select the group you can post to. Can I do it in different groups or what? Or can you only do it in one group? There's Betty Gales. She's on, coming live from South Carolina. Betty, how's everything down in South Carolina?
Beautiful. I thought that y'all needed some girl power on here.
That's right. See, bringing the heat. I like that. Okay, I'm gonna make that live. Sorry, I'm doing like 4 things at once. I apologize. I made that live too.
Oh, yep,
So anything else we gotta do?
yes.
Why doesn't it automatically do it
Because you have to do it.
every week?
Mhm.
Oh, that's not good.
This person?
Yeah, I already got it set.
Okay.
That good?
Yep.
All right.
you're live.
Good. We're rock and roll. Nat Battiata's there. Everybody's there. We got it going. Craig, Mitch, Bobby, Brian. Why do I only see the panelists? Is there a way to see everyone or not?
No, because if you do that, then it gets too much. So we decided to do you can't go live unless you're doing it on the webinar software.
Okay.
So if you were here last week, instead of traveling around the country and the world, you rock star guy, you would have seen that and learned that last week.
Well, that's what I'm trying to do. Let me get Randy on here. I'm going to invite in, let's see. Sorry, I'm trying to promote all the right people here for panelists today.
Yeah.
Does anybody want to discuss what we're discussing today or introduce?
Yeah, so I'll start that. So today's lesson, folks. Today we are doing how to get offers accepted as a buyer agent. Right now this is probably the most challenging market we've seen. I know in my career, my 21 years of getting offers accepted. So the goal today is to give all you out there the ability to. And Pete, you did that really good. You got that live thing going good. I'm impressed. And you sure Dre's not standing next to you? But anyway, so that's the goal today, is to teach you guys. And we have some of the best agents in the country on this call every week, which is why we do this. And so I always like this. Let's start it with Bobby, because Bobby's always got enough information that none of us actually ever talk again. So, why are you, Bobby? Where'd you go?
All right, sounds good. Thank you so much. I appreciate the honor of being the first one to share today. That's very nice of you. Let me just put my notes here right in front of me so I can go off of everything. So first off, if there's one thing that I am good at, it's definitely this, is getting offers accepted. I learned from one of the best, who is the moderator of this session, Mr. Pete Middleton. But then over the years, I've added some tweaks, and I want to go over everything in real detail, give you guys some manageable things that you can put in your offers, get your offers accepted. So first things first, in this kind of market, you got to deal with buyers' expectations. You could bang your head up against the wall a million times and you're never going to get an offer accepted if you are working with the wrong buyers. So you got to do a planning session. You got to go through the comps with them, the sold. You got to show them, hey, this one listed at 800, sold for 950. This one sold, came on the market at $1 million, sold for $1.2 million. If they're educated from day one, at least they know what they're getting into. And you got to get an agreement with them that they're going to write up aggressive offers. Because if you could be the best agent on the planet, like Matt Battiata, and not get any offers accepted because you have the wrong buyers in your car taking them out. So that's first thing first, you got to do that. Let's see here. Now, on the next thing, you got to make sure that when you, you know, a lot of buyers, they want us to say, you know, hey, get the price that I need to be, find out how many offers, find out all this information. You know, I've got a million questions. What's your SDG&E bill? What's the age of the roof? All that stuff. No, if you call me up as a listing agent, I'm going to sit there and go, God, this guy's got a million questions. Well, what if he can't put an ADU on the property? What if he can't? What if the roof is not in the best shape? What if, you know, there's a lot of what ifs, right? I want to deal with the guy who's calling me up and saying, Bobby, my clients love the property unconditionally. They want it. They're so in. We are the buyer you want to pick. That's what you want to hear as a listing agent. That's what you want to hear as a seller. And so in this kind of market, you know, negotiating and asking all these questions is only going to hurt you. So make sure you do that. And then as far as the offer price, when they're writing up an offer, you got to tell them you need a no regret offer. So I want you to tell me what price this house is worth to you. If you don't get it, you wouldn't have paid $1 more. Okay, so many, I just had this happen. A client said, I want to offer 1.3, then they didn't get it. They didn't even get a chance to counter, even though it was 40,000 over list price. They didn't even get a counter. The seller just went with the highest offer. And so then I call my client, I say, hey, what you know, we didn't get it. Like, oh my God, we didn't even get a counter. I would have paid 1.4. I immediately picked up the phone, called the seller's agent, and she said, oh, well, that would have done it, but it's too late. We're in escrow. So that's why you got to get the no regrets price from them. You got to pretend like there is no counter, or else there will potentially not be a counter and you might not get the deal. Now, here's an important one. Before reaching out to the listing agent, make sure you pull the comps, and please, for the God's sake, read the confidential remarks, read the showing remarks. If there's documents in the MLS, review all of that stuff. Be a professional. There's too many agents calling up with stupid questions. They're not doing any research before picking up the phone and calling the listing agent. Then they sound stupid. You know, when are you reviewing offers? Well, it says it right there in the MLS, Tuesday at 10 a.m. So why are they asking me that question? It's because they didn't read the comments. And if you don't have attention to detail, that's just, you know, the beginning. It's going to be that way every single step of the transaction. And again, listing agents are looking for ease in their transactions right now. We got a lot of stuff going on. We want the best possible buyers. Now, let's see. All right, so covered all that. Now, when you call the listing agent, first impressions are everything. Now, you know, obviously we want to try and find the price, but if they tell us the price, that's breaking their fiduciary duty, unless they've gotten permission from the sellers, which most sellers aren't going to do that. They'd be stupid to do that. So I always kind of start off with, hey, my name is Bobby Martins with eXp Realty. I just wanted to call and talk to you real quick about XYZ property. And I know you're probably getting a lot of calls on this, so I'll be super brief. So first off, here's my buyer situation. You want to pump them up, their DU approval, all of that stuff. You got to have DU approved buyers right now. That's very important. And then ask them this question. Other than price, what is your client looking for in the offer? Do they need a rent back? Do they need any of that stuff? If that stuff isn't in the confidential remarks, obviously asking those questions are totally fine. So now that you know all of that, then you hit them with the question, if my client is looking to write up an offer at $900,000, would that offer be competitive? Quick about it, catch them off guard if you can, because then you might hear a stutter, or you might well, whatever, you got to really sense what their position. They might say, oh my God, Bobby, that'd be a great offer. Well, now you can at least go back to your client and tell them that. Never ask that question, by the way, in a text message. Obviously, as a listing agent, you can't answer that in writing. That'd be breaking your fiduciary duty in writing. So definitely do not do that. Okay, we talked about that. Now on the offer itself, you got to be super, super aggressive. Pay for all, the buyer should be paying for closing costs. Buyer should be making everything buyer pays, including home warranty. So don't put all that stuff on the seller side. try and make it look different than the traditional offers that are being presented. So, if you're a seller and you look at an offer and every other one is asking seller to pay for everything, and then your offer is buyer to pay for everything, then obviously you're going to be standing out. The seller's going to want to work with you. Don't ask for home warranty. That could be a good closing gift that you give the buyer. Let's see. Now, a couple pro tips. Get your buyers approved for a cash offer. There's a few lenders out there that will turn financing offers into cash buyers. Essentially, what the bank is doing is buying the property and then doing a second escrow and selling it to the client at the same price, of course. The closing costs are all rolled in. The fees are all rolled into the loan. It's like most of them are charging 1.5 points. But that includes your origination fee of 1 point. So it's really not a bad deal. Then you're a cash buyer. You can close in as little as 15 days. Let's see. Now, here's another pro tip. We all get those showing time messages saying, "Hey, what do you think of the property? What do you think of the price? All that stuff." This is a backdoor way to talk to the seller because a lot of sellers get those feedback requests. So you want to respond. Right in the comments. Buyers love the house. This is your opportunity to speak directly to the seller. So use that opportunity, and then obviously the listing agent's going to see it. Obviously, you don't want to try and break you got the fair housing laws. You don't want to break any laws. You want to try and respect that. But with the love letters now, we can't do that. So I still include a cover sheet, and it's bullet points of all of the things in our offer. And we always talk about how easy we're going to make it for all parties, not just our client. I care about the experience for the seller, and I tell this in a video. And this is the last pro tip, and then I'll turn it over to you guys. Bomb videos over the years have been amazing for me. I have always, not always, but in almost every single offer, we're including a video. I'm talking to the seller and the seller's agent. I'm hoping that the seller's agent will forward it to the seller. The way to get that to happen is you compliment the seller's agent in the video at the very beginning. So I'll usually say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, my name is Bobby Martins. I'm proud to bring you a great offer from XYZ. First off, I want to say congratulations on hiring the right agent to sell your house. Bob has been great. He's been so responsive and and we've worked together before, blah, blah, blah. Whatever it is, compliment the shit out of that guy. Tell him how great the marketing is, all this stuff. Because then what do you think? Everyone in real estate has an ego. So then now that agent is sending this to the client, and you automatically are going to stand out. And in that video, you're explaining all the things of why your client loves the house. I'm not using married couple. I'm not doing any of the things that would be a violation. I'm just simply stating the facts. They're a cash buyer. They can close in 15 days. They've been looking for 6 months and have been very disappointed without not being able to find a property, but they love your property. They have every reason in the world to be in your neighborhood because they have friends and family in the neighborhood. But again, I'm not using any of the the key buzzwords that would break the rules. So that's pretty much it. There's a bunch of other little tips, but I don't want to take up the whole hour. So thank you much.
I thought it was the Bobby Martin show. How many espressos have you had this morning? That's my question.
Actually, just one small cup of coffee, buddy. It's just it's called a zest for life. I love life and I love this business. And this is the busiest time of the year, man. This is our go time.
This is the Super Bowl of real estate. Great tips, and he loves his hair products. Anyways, let's go over to Brian Yarber. Brian, what do you feel would separate an offer in this type of market where there's huge competition? Bobby gave some great strategies. What strategies have you used in the past or helped coach people on to get their offers accepted?
That's a great question. And I agree pretty much everything Bobby said. The only thing I would like to point out, there's over 65 people on here, and not all 65 are in markets like San Diego. They're not going to be in the similar. So that those pro tips are amazing for this time, but the climate will change. And when it changes, I think you have to learn to change with it. So some of the language that I teach is when you're in front of the buyer, the first thing you want to let them know is that the market is absolutely never ready. If you're a seller, the market is one way. If you're a buyer, the market is another way. So the market's never ready. You have to be ready for the market. And the market we're in today, if you're a buyer, as an example, I give case studies of the last 10 listings I've sold, and I use what I've learned by the offers coming in and the counters and the things that I'm doing with my sellers going back out to show a buyer what's winning today in their marketplace, right? So if you have to release the appraisal contingency to get your offer accepted, that might help you get a lower offer accepted over all the other VA offers, depending on the price range, because VA offer buyers are not releasing appraisals, or they can't, or they have issues, right? So I want to educate my buyer. So if I'm in a under $1 million market in San Diego, my offer presentation for that buyer is absolutely offer your walkaway price. You know that if you offered your best, you're not going to be upset. If you feel like you offered too much and you win, then your bank is going to confirm with an appraisal how well you did. Because if you're $200,000 over and you wanted to be $100,000 over, now all of a sudden, now you're going to feel a little bit challenged, like, oh my gosh, I paid too much, but it doesn't matter. It's your walkaway price. So I have to let my buyers know through a consultation that, you know, there's going to be a market, and we're in that one right now. Unless you're buying in the Covenant in Rancho Santa Fe and there's 27 homes over 10 million, you can ask the seller to pay for everything because that seller is going to want you. But if you're in a, you know, an $800,000 market and you're one of 20 offers, then you've got to release everything. You've got to come in, you know, and like what Bobby was saying, I don't want to re-script what Bobby did because everything he said was on point. But again, I think buyers need to know one thing, that the market is never ready. They have to be ready for the market they're in. And would the seller choose them? Why would the seller want to choose your offer? And that's what we talk about in our consultations, how to prepare your offer to be the one the seller chooses, or at least includes in the round of negotiations if it's in a seller multiple or a counter. And how you do that, obviously you try all the stealthy things that Bobby was talking about. Not all agents will respond the way you want them to. You have to let the buyer know that I'm going to do my absolute best for you to get all of the bullet points from the listing agent on what the sellers are looking for, because sometimes the perfect offer is 60 days of rent back. And if you had 60 days of rent back included in your offer at no expense to the seller, and you came in and you released all your contingencies, you don't have to win the price. You have to win the seller's respect at that point, right? So that's what I want to do. I want to make sure our agents know how to do a consultation that lets the buyer know that they need to be on the table on the second round in this market. That's the hardest place to be, is if you can get a counter offer, now you know what it's going to take.
No, that's great stuff, Brian. Thanks for your contribution there. And just remember, guys, no matter what market you're in, anywhere in the United States right now, inventory is tight, competition's heavy. People can really lose momentum. We know rates are going up, so there's a lot of pressure on people to find housing. You know, another great kind of tactic is when you're meeting with your buyers and you're putting the strategy session together, you know, share with them, it's not the asking price. When you're looking at these properties, there's no more asking price. The price that's on the paper, the price that's in the MLS, the price that's in Zillow or Redfin or any of the other online directories is the starting price. And get them in that mindset that that's the starting price and it goes up from there. Otherwise, they'll keep missing. And when they miss, they lose momentum. Then they convince themselves that it's not the right time to buy, that maybe they should hold off. And we all know as real estate advisors and experts where the market's going, where it's trending, because we're on the front line basically 24/7. They're not. So it's a psychological game too. I want to go from Brian up in Montana fishing down to Betty Gales, our Southern Belle down in South Carolina, to give us some tips on how to win offers.
I've got all my little points here and y'all have all covered every one of them, except for escalation clauses. I don't like those, but I wonder what y'all are thinking about that, and have you been using those?
I do.
You know,
Yeah. I use them.
you know what it is, Betty? I think the big thing with escalation clauses, I'm glad you brought that up. Most agents don't understand them, or they think it's a backhanded way to win the bid when there's multiple offers. I think you have to reach out to the listing agent and say, look, how do you feel about an escalation clause? How do your clients feel about that? Because a lot of times they don't understand it. And when you don't understand it, it's kind of taboo. But if it's explained correctly, it's actually a really great tool, and it nets the seller more money in the long run. So why wouldn't you use it? So, you know, we're finding a lot of listing agents overwhelmed, and, you know, they're getting so many offers, they're not even countering. They're just taking the highest and best, and that's it.
Yeah, good point. I mean, I think talking to the listing agent and asking that question is very, very important. How do y'all structure your escalation? So we're coming in, we're at the highest price, you know, we're taking out all of the contingencies that we can take. Now, where does the escalation clause come in? How do you word it? I know it's different for every price point.
Well, when we word it, and I'll go to Matt in a second, the way that we word it in the luxury side is we write it out and basically say, we'll bid 25,000 above and beyond, or 50,000 above and beyond the highest offer that you can show us in writing. And the reason being, because what a lot of people don't understand is they think their offers are confidential. No, the offers are actually property of the seller. When you make that offer to try to win that house or win that contract, the sellers have the ability and can instruct the listing agent to share that with any agent they want. That's where the misnomer is in the market. And that's why escalation clauses are powerful, because you can say, I have to be able to see it in writing in order to bid above it or whatever. But you put it in writing, and a lot of times you give it a cap. You say, I'll bid 20,000 or 10,000 or 5,000 or 25 or 50 or 100,000 above, up to this number. So if it goes past 2 million, we're out. That's our ceiling. So if we say we're going to go 25,000 above the highest offer, your highest offer is at 2 million. We're at 2 million. That's it. Just like Brian said, you know, at what price are you not a buyer, right? What's your stop price, basically? Go ahead, Matt.
Hey, Pete, on that, so if you do that, then I'm just going to send you a single counter at the 2 million. So I actually don't put a price. I just say 3,000 or 5,000 above highest verified offer, because I want to see that offer. Because if you put a cap on it, then again, you're basically telling the seller that, hey, I'll pay up to 2 million. So why would you, if you're the listing agent, then I would just smack you with a single counter saying, here you go, we want the 2 million, because you're basically telling us that's your top end price.
Yeah, I'm talking more if it's a multiple counter and in that type of scenario, you know. So I get it. Go ahead, Matt.
What I was going to add is, because I think escalation clauses are really important. I know a lot of listing agents sometimes disregard them. I like what Bobby was saying about the video and complimenting because most listing agents, I forward all the emails right to my sellers, right? So they see what's on there. So they're going to definitely see any video that I send with it. And so what I do is when I do an escalation clause, I mention that in a bomb video so that the seller understands it. I never put a cap on it. What I tell my clients when I'm working with a buyer is, okay, we're going to do an escalation clause that says we're going to go, 10 grand over the highest verified offer. We're not going to put a cap on it, because all it's going to do is, if they come back and say, well, the highest offer is some insane price that we're not willing to pay, we have the first right of refusal, and we can say, well, that's too high, right? The other thing that's really important that people don't realize about escalation clauses, and I see this all the time. In fact, I've had agents who didn't get the property on a multiple offer situation where they did an escalation clause, and they call me and say, I'm just curious why we didn't get it. And I say, you know why? Because you wrote such a low offer that the sellers didn't even want to consider it because you were, we didn't think you'd go anywhere near where the other offers were because you were so low. So you have to submit a really strong offer with an escalation clause, and then you're going to be considered. And the only thing, while I've got the floor, that I would add in is a lot of the things that maybe we all take for granted, you have to really spell out to the listing agent and to the seller. I mean, for example, say you'll remove all your contingencies in 5 days, even though all of our contracts in California are technically as is anyway, you have to put it in bold. We're buying this house as is. A lot of the homes that we sell are tract homes. There's really nothing going to be majorly wrong with them. It's always going to be subject to an inspection anyway. And so if you find anything significant, of course, you can still ask for it. But I think it's really important. I know we can't do the love letters anymore, and I love those, but I guess those aren't allowed anymore. But
Still doing them.
Whether it's a video or whether it's a video or what, and in addition, I spell everything out on the first page of the offer, like on a cover sheet, so that, sellers don't look at these offers every day. And I want them to be able to understand that, we're buying it as is, we're removing all of our contingencies in 5 days. We have an escalation clause that says we'll beat the best offer by $10,000. We're willing to let you rent back for free for 59 days. I mean, really, really spell it out so that the seller understands it.
I think that's
I
great
also like
feedback,
what
Matt.
Bobby said about the cash offers. I just had a meeting with my lender actually yesterday about making offers, cash offers. But at the end of the day, I feel like most sellers really, with no appraisal contingency and removing all and approval and good down payment, they're going to go with the highest offer, right? So you got to make a high offer is the bottom line.
Yeah, I think that you just have to be, straightforward with people and really educate them on what's happening in the marketplace and so forth. I mean, we had 2 open houses over the weekend on a new listing, just kind of share a story with you guys. And we had 163 qualified buyers come through. We ended up with 13 offers, and the price was off the charts, what we sold it for. And the seller got all the terms they wanted and so forth. But cash is king, streamlined is king. I've had people in the past really dig into who the seller is and look up their background and what their interests are, either on LinkedIn or other things. And what ends up happening is you can play to their heartstrings, right? You could sit there and say, okay, if their big charity is the American Heart Association, right? Maybe you say, look, if you accept my offer, I'm going to make $1,000 contribution on your behalf to the American Heart Association upon closing. People like that. They like when you're charitable. They like when you have aligned interests and that you come from a very heartfelt, logical approach where other people may not do that. And I think it's also important to tell the story of your clients. I know Matt was reflecting on that they don't like love letters, but people want to know who are buying their houses. They want to know, is it a family and what's their background? And, they may have similarities that make your offer stand out. Let's go over to Craig Lurch, who looks like his winter coat is finally off and he's living the good life in Philly. How are you separating yourself from the masses when you're advising buyers to win offers?
I got to tell you something. We get a ton out of this, even as panelists. I took the part that Bobby and Matt just said about not putting a cap in it. So that's interesting. We have a given form here in our state that we're supposed to use, and it doesn't say that you have to show the paperwork and you have to. So there's a lot of games that get played with it. I like that verbiage. So good job, guys. I think the biggest thing is what we've been running into is there are certain price points that are really strong. We had one house that just had 100 showings on it in 4 days. It's got 13 offers. It's probably going to go well over 75,000. It started at 550 and so. But the bottom line comes down to it is it's also not about the price. I just won two offers in the past 2 weeks. One was an investment property, one was another property. And I called the agents. I literally say to them when I'm showing right before the property, I said, look, you're in a bad spot. You're in a no-win situation. I've sat in your seat and I don't want to be in it. But if I can help you at any point, whether it's my transaction or another, to go through the process, I'd be more than happy to help you because I'm here, because I know your pains. So I'm kind of trying to be comfortable with them and get them comfortable with me. Number two is be honest with me. Be brave and tell me, do you have an offer on the table yet? And am I competing against you as the listing agent? And so then I've got to watch what we're talking. You don't know unless you ask. That's in every relationship. Ask the question, am I competing against you as a listing agent too? Most of the times they'll tell you, say, okay, fine. I just need to know how I'm going to play this position with you. And don't ever use the word game, because an agent said that to me one time. I was like, this isn't a game. This is just finding a process that makes my seller happy with what they've got. What happened in the offers we presented, and Pete, you're right, and Bobby, you're right, make a good, respectable offer with knowing that you're getting to the second round, as Brian said. Because if you erase everything else and you're a good agent and you spoke to that agent and you've done business with them in the past, or you've treated them with respect, they're going to want to work with you. Ask them, what are all the special points your seller wants? And I ask them point blank, if I put all of that in there and I'm not the highest price, what are my odds of you calling me and telling me what I need to do to make the deal work? And then stop talking, because the next person that talks loses. Work out both.
Yeah.
It worked. I go on both. They called me and said, my seller, there's 2 offers higher than you. They want to work with you because they know your name, and I want to work with you, but your buyer isn't. So I'm in the middle of minutia. Yes. Give me a hint what I need to be. They said, if you match this other deal, which wasn't the highest deal, which was the second highest deal, because the highest deal had too many contingencies and was kind of a lie, you'll get the property. And we're not coming back to anybody else. We're just coming to you, giving you the shot. If not, we're going to the other deal. Boom.
Yeah, that's a good point. We're seeing that a lot out here too, you guys, where the listing agent will go through them and see who they connect with, who they respect, who they have a relationship with, and say, look, I have 3 other offers. You're not the highest. Would your people be willing to go to, hypothetically 750? And they reach out to you, and typically I would say, let me find out. I'll call you right back. And then I usually call them and say, we'll go to 800, just to sweeten the pot to make them look good. Because in the big picture, it's not a ton. Because if you don't get the property, how much are you paying for it? 0. You're starting over, and it's going to get heavier with the competition. Let's go over to my brother, Mitch Ribak, down. He's about to get on a space shuttle. When are you launching off to the moon? When they send you to the moon?
I just paid my $250,000, so I'm going up there. I think it's next week. I gotta start training tomorrow.
Well, I know that you kind of look like Jeff Bezos a little bit, even though he's a little ripped right now, and he wants other people on the shuttle with him that look like him. So
I'm pretty ripped. I can show you. I'm pretty ripped. No, so anyways, obviously we're covering a lot of stuff here, which is awesome stuff, and that's why I love this thing every week. One thing we haven't talked about is appraisal gaps, and this is really important when you're making an offer right now. And I got a few more things, but this is probably the most important thing. And we just did one. In fact, Michelle, who's on the call with us today, we went through hers, and we went in what are you willing to pay over the appraised price to get in? And I'm going to use Florida numbers, not La Jolla numbers that are $18 billion. So we have a deal for $300,000. We're at $325,000, $330,000 now, because remember, as someone said earlier, the list price is the starting price. That is not where there's no, hey, let's do 10% unders. Well, let's start 10% over, right? And we know as professionals that we all are, that we're not going to, that probably is not going to place at 330, right? It's going to place at 300. So what are you willing to pay? Are you willing to pay $30,000 extra in cash? And that's it's such an important part of your negotiating process. When you put that in, that appraisal gap, we had a deal a couple months ago on that. They put that in. That's what got me thinking more about the appraisal gap contingency. You can put that in there and say, look, we'll pay up to, and I think this one did $25,000. And it ended up being, during negotiations, about $35,000. Because once we got the deal, and by the way, it's always about winning the deal. You've got to win the deal before you're in the game, right? So if you don't win the deal, it doesn't really matter. So win the deal. So appraisal gap's number one. A person told me this the other day, and I love this answer. So, one of the things I've been hearing about VA buyers, VA and FHA right now are hard as hell, right? They're just hard as hell. And so when you have a VA buyer, I don't have a good answer for FHA yet, but I have a good answer for VA, because the thing that we hear is, well, they don't have any skin in the game. right? So the response back to them, so well, actually, he served in Iran and Iraq and Afghanistan, not Iran, Afghanistan and Iraq. I think he's got a lot more skin in the game than you have. And, go tug at their emotions. I'm 100% in favor of letters. I know we're not supposed to do them. I don't care. I've won so many bids over the years with a really good letter, and people want to relate. If I have 3 offers that are similar, and I was in the military, and I have a military guy, I'm going to go to the military guy. Or if I raised a family in my house, and it was a great, and I love raising my family there. I've been 30 years, and I got one guy that's, a single guy coming in, or I have another one that's a family. I'm more apt to even take a little less money because I don't need the money that much to give it to the family, because I want another family to raise their kids in the house like I raised my kids. So stories are great. Communication. Pick up the phone and call the realtor. I know some people have been talking about this. Everybody's like, everything is texted. Everything is drives me crazy. Pick up the phone and go to events. Go to social events put on by your board. Right? Go meet other realtors, because when you create those relationships, when you're meeting other agents and you get a deal, you go, oh yeah, I know Randy. Randy's a great guy. He's got a new baby. He told me all about his new baby, and he's finally getting a couple hours sleep at night. It's great. And when you're doing that, though, right, I built that relationship. So now when I send a contract to Randy, an offer to Randy, he's like, oh, Mitch is a great guy. I mean, he's bald, but he's a great guy. And so, you have these relationships you build. I want to work with people that I like. I don't like working with agents that I don't know, or that I know are jerks. So if I have a choice between 2 realtors, I'm going to do the one I like. And then one final thing, it's really important. If you have a buyer that is also a seller, and this is really important. There's a company out there now called knock.com, like knock on the door, knock.com. They will actually buy the house cash for you, because if you have a sales continue to sell your home right now, you're not getting a house. It's almost impossible. So you have this knock.com, they'll buy the house for you cash. They charge 1 or 2 points, and then they give you 6 months to sell your house. Pretty amazing. And we know the house will sell really quickly. So highly recommend you using that. Everything else has been talked about. All yours, Pete.
Love it. Love it. Good stuff. Let's go over to Randy. Randy's on the beach. He's not in San Diego. Look at him. There he is. He's all fit. He's got a new baby. He looks wide awake because he's been up all night. Tell us, Randy, what's happening?
Cool. Few things. One thing that wasn't really mentioned is how important it is what lender that your buyer is using. So one of the first things I ask if I'm a listing agent and I'm interviewing, because to me, that's almost like an interview. Okay, tell me more about your buyer, right? I actually ask the buyer's agent, right? Tell me more. Who are they? Like, give me a little bit. Okay, who found who recommended the lender? Is it someone that you've worked with a lot, Mr. Buyer Agent, or is this the buyer's choice, right? And not that I make my decision and say like, oh, automatically, if it's the buyer that found the lender, that, oh, it's a bad lender. However, I feel a lot more comfortable knowing if it's an agent that has used that lender before many, many times. So that's just something that I will mention to my sellers, right? Again, not that it's a bad thing. So if you're in that situation where you're working with a buyer and the buyer insists like, hey, this is my best friend, like he's a great lender, great. You as the buyer's agent, interview the lender, build a relationship, because he is an integral part of this whole process, right? So what we do every time we submit an offer, we of course, pre-approval letter, that's like someone mentioned, it's supposed to be underwritten, right? Where they're fully approved. The only thing missing is a contract and appraisal, right? If that's even necessary at that point. However, as soon as we submit the offer, the lender calls the listing agent to further verify how strong our buyer is and how excited we all are to make this happen with you, Mr. Listing Agent, right? I want the listing agent to experience the professionalism of our team and the strength of my buyer, right? So again, you don't need to say, oh, Mr. Buyer, you cannot work with your own lender. You need to go with mine. First of all, you're not allowed to do that, right? You're not allowed to steer your clients towards a lender. I would just educate them certain things that might come up and that I will need to interview their lender, and I will actually watch how is the lender communicating. Are they responding to me right away when I reach out to them to build that relationship? And if they're not, and if they take 2 days to respond to me, then I educate my buyer. Imagine how long it's going to take them to call the listing agent when we submit an offer. And then they're like, oh man, maybe we shouldn't use this lender. Well, I'm not telling you you shouldn't. I'm just telling you it might set us back of getting your offer accepted. So you might want to consider interviewing others. Here is a couple names, done, right? So really, like the lender, the whole team aspect is so crucial. Another thing, someone brought up, for newer agents, you have no experience and you're working with buyers. And Bobby, I think, put this in the chat. What I do with newer agents on my team, and I think one of them is actually on the Zoom, Tony. I'm going to pick on Tony a little bit. He's on here. He's on these Zooms every week. So good job, Tony, always learning and educating yourself. But newer agents, when they join my team, I tell them, like, look, I am not going to make this a requirement. However, here's what I suggest we do. If you get a buyer that wants to work with you because of your relationship that you have, let's partner. Let's partner and leverage my experience as your own. And because you're not going to know how to even submit a strong offer in today's market, if you haven't been doing it for the last 6 months or a year, you really don't have the experience yet to even understand all these things we're talking about, right? And it's not going to, you're not going to learn everything in one Zoom and go implement it in the first week in business. It's impossible, right? So we partner, right? I recommend it, and I had no agent yet that's newer on my team in SoCal say, no, Randy, you know what? I'm good. I don't want to partner with you. No one says that, right? When they're newer in this crazy market. So we partner with everybody. And then I have my right-hand agent, Jessica, who partners with that agent. And Tony, as an example, this is a true story that just happened. I think it was a week ago. Tony calls me. He's like, Randy, I just showed this property to a buyer. They're ready to submit an offer. What do I do? I'm like, Tony, time out. I'm like, tell me more about this buyer. How did you meet them? Tell me more. And like, well, this was a referral through actually the, not Ojo, but one of the referral services, right, that we're part of. I was like, great. I was like, tell me more. Like, oh, well, they need to sell a house too. So, how do we write that offer? I'm like, oh, forget it. Tony, time out. This is like a big deal now. So we unpacked this whole thing. And I go, Tony, remember what I said? And Tony, sorry that I'm going to be, sharing this story. I was very honest with Tony on the call. And I was like, look, I'm going to deliver it with grace as much as I can, but I'm going to be pretty harsh here. I was like, remember, I told you to partner with us. This is why. And let me explain to you what just happened. Right now, you're about to create a nightmare experience for this client. And this is what Brian on my team talks about. Right? Do we create a dream, an American dream experience, or a nightmare experience for the clients we work with? And I was like, you're walking them towards a nightmare experience. And here's why. I was like, first of all, to try to get an offer accepted in today's market with a contingency for them to sell their house, good luck, right? It ain't happening, right? Not in today's market. I was like, we need to have a consultation with them first, and then make them aware of what is the temperature of the market, and recommend them from our professionalism and our experience that we need to first sell their house with a rent back, because that objection is going to come, right? Well, where am I going to go? Where am I going to live, right? Well, don't worry. We're going to get you a rent back for 2 to 3 months for free, most likely, right? So you need to ease that objection in their mind. So we're going to first educate them, tell them why it's important to list their home, sell their home, then submit an offer on the property that they are ready to submit, right? But now there's no contingency. So Jessica got on a call with Tony and this client, explained everything, educated them, and now they have a listing appointment this weekend, and they're excited with this strategy of selling their condo first, getting a rent back, and then going on the market to actually buy a home. So the buying process is completely on pause right now, and it has to. So anyway, so I wanted just to share that, give you guys some encouragement. If you're new, don't feel like you need to learn all of this, because it's impossible. Partner with someone, and if you're not part of a team, find another agent that you've met that's experienced, and most of them will be like, yeah, sure, let's do it 50-50. That's what I do, 50-50. Let's partner. I'm not going to go show the properties, I'm going to help you with negotiating. I'll be the one submitting the offer. I'll do all that part because I can do it remote. And then you can leverage my experience as your own. Because I absolutely agree with what Bobby said. Unfortunately, if you're a newbie, and I can tell right away when I talk to you and I'm screening you, it works against you. I mean, I can't say it any other way. I really have to be honest. So that's all I got.
It's good. Great stuff, Randy. You guys, here's the deal. It's a tight market and it's a limited inventory, and listing agents don't want to make the wrong choice. So they're not going to make a choice with a newer agent that they don't have a relationship with. They're always going to put the relationship agents to the top because they have past experience with them. And that's a big thing, because a lot of times these sellers are saying to us, and I'm a big listing agent, they'll say, who would you go with? And there's 15 offers.
Yeah.
And you have to do your homework and summarize it and scrub them and so forth. So you have to leverage the relationship, your reputation, your track record. And I love the partnering up with the newer agents because you can guide them. They're going to learn a lot. There's a lot of value there. And the other thing too is just look at the agent. If they don't want to do it, they don't want to do it. But say 50% of 100% is better than 0 of 75%.
Yep.
Right? Because there's no guarantee. If they keep losing bids, sooner or later, they're going to lose that client. The client's going to move on to somebody else because they're going to get frustrated and say, this person doesn't have the reputation or the firepower to get it done. Now, I want to move over to Robert Wolf. He's out of the San Diego area. Wolfman's from New York. I can't believe I'm calling on a New Yorker with the Giants hat on. I hate the Giants.
Yeah,
Here's the deal. He's been in the trenches lately. He's been pounding it out. That's why he's all beat up right now, you guys. He's been in a 15-round fight going up against everyone. What are you seeing in San Diego, and how are you making your offers stand out to win them?
Well, the thing I'm seeing is you got to go in with your strongest offer. So what am I doing? Interest rates are going up. So what I used to do lending, but if you don't have an HP calculator and learn how to do payments, do yourself a favor, because doing a simple calculation, it's all about, you said this, Pete, it's all about the payment, right? If interest rates go up 1%, that's a 13% rise in the price of the property. So in other words, $1 million property at 3.5% is the same thing as $1,130,000 property at 4.5%. So you got to make sure that you that pushes them to the highest price possible. I mean, I'm not going to be ashamed to say this because I was one of the guys bidding after Pete's property, and I bid after a number of deals, high-end deals, $2.5 million deals, where I had relationships, but the price just got bid up to a point where it's all about price, even with the relationship. So, cash, it's good to be cash. But at the end of the day, to the seller, money is money. It doesn't matter if it's cash or loan. It's about price. If you could come in $100,000 more right off the get-go, they don't want to go back and forth with 13. I mean, I'm finding you want to just get, the way the market is in San Diego, listed on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, open house Saturday or Sunday, or from Monday. You don't have a lot of time to play around. You can't leave anything on the table. You got to tell your client that they got to not only go in where the pending sales are. I call all the pending sales before I make that offer within a quarter mile, so I know where the offers are going to land, so I know where the appraisal is going to land, and I show proof of funds for a gap that I'm willing to take. So in other words, if I know my guy's going to have to come in with an extra $100,000 because the place only appraises at $900,000, I'm showing the fact, or I'm communicating with the listing agent the fact that my guy's got a couple $100,000 in the bank. He's okay with that. This is his home. The thing we forget about, and you have to communicate, it's a long-term, well, California's a little different, but your home is a long-term play. I mean, it's not like you're buying EXP stock and you're trying to get out of it tomorrow at a profit. You're buying this as a long-term appreciation. So really, what's the effect of paying 5% extra, 10% extra over a 7-8 year horizon? So, I mean, I've been going in pretty strong, and it's a challenge. I lost one deal in Encinitas at 500,000 over asking price, and I was all cash, 15-day close.
Another thing too, and I'm going to
But
expand
anyway,
on
you
what.
got to keep fighting.
Yeah, I'm going to expand on what the Wolfman said because he's coming live. You can see he's on his back patio in beautiful San Diego. Here's the deal. Sellers typically do not understand contracts. It's not something they look at every day. They're not familiar with it. Our contract in California just changed, I think, for the 30th time, right? They change it every 6 to 12 months because they have nothing ever better to do, right? So they keep changing it. They call it consumer law advocacy. It's the funniest thing ever. But here's the deal. What does everybody in society, besides crypto, what are they familiar with? Cash. They're familiar with checks. They understand that. So if you guys really want to stand out with your offer, don't put down 1% as earnest money deposit in escrow, because who are they going to take more seriously? If they're asking $1 million for their house and somebody says, you know something, I'll put up, I'm going to put up, let's say, I don't know, I'm going to put up 10 grand for you to take it off the market and give me 7 days to do inspections or whatever. Even if you say you're taking that as is, there's going to be a certain period of time, even if you pretty much waived everything. They don't understand that. Write a huge check. Most states, and I'm just speaking on behalf of California, full disclosure, the most the seller can tie up in dispute for mediation or arbitration in escrow is 3% or 3.5%. That's it. So whatever the excess is has to be released back to the buyer. So what you would do is you put down a huge amount of money into escrow right off the bat. It tells you how serious you are. So if it's $1 million property, have them put 100,000 or 200,000 into escrow. Because guess what? They're going to probably put 10 or 20% down anyways to get the financing. Right there, you stand out because they say, hey, we have 5 offers. This guy's going to put 10 grand in escrow. This guy's going to put 15. This woman's going to put 20. This woman wants to put in 5. Oh, this buyer over here is putting in 200,000. And get one of those big Bob Barker checks from The Price is Right, saying, Mr. Seller, take a picture of it and send it to the agent. Say, I'm not fooling around. We're putting all 20% in right now. That's how easy this is going to be, because that's all any seller relates to, you guys. Try it. I'm telling you, it works. If you sit there and say, this is how much they love your house and what you did to it and how much they appreciate, and just flatter. Oh, you put those great lime green cabinets in the garage. That's my buyer's favorite color. And by the way, they're not only going to pay you above asking price at $1 million, but they're putting 200 grand into escrow to show you how serious they are. Then have the lender call the listing agent on behalf of the buyer and you and say, hey, you know something? Betty's unbelievable. She's been in the business the longest period of time. She's the easiest person I've ever dealt with. She's organized. She understands the process. She'll make you look like a rock star in this transaction. And by the way, her buyers, they're as good as cash. They're fully approved. It's not subject to appraisal. I got them set to go. I already have the VOEs, that's verification of employment, VOIs, verification of income, right? And VODs, verification deposits. Know the lingo. And if that lender says that to that listing agent, it goes a long way, especially if they know each other, because then you have another party involved where that listing agent says, oh, I know Nick Maglio. He's a great guy. And I would love to help Nick and his family too, because he's going to be doing the loan. And the last 10 loans he did for me, they all got done without an issue. And they were on time and they closed on time. So I think that's a big thing to look at when you're trying to win offers in this market. Listen, only one can be accepted. There's only one winner. You get nothing for second place. But speaking upon that, we're seeing offers fall out here because people get spooked. So be very, very nice to the listing agent. They're overwhelmed. Don't give any crappy remarks or get edgy. Just say, I understand how you feel. I mean, wow, that's unreal. Thank you for getting back to me. Or I really appreciate you connecting with me, right? And just show them respect and say, wow, what a great listing. Congratulations. You're doing awesome. Just flatter them and say, hey, by the way, I have a great kind of strategy for you. Can I share it with you? They're going to say, yeah. Say, I know they already accepted the offer. Would you mind if my offer went in backup position? It'll keep the first offer honest. I'll write it up and we'll just stay in communication because I want to do more business with you anyways. And I'll give you insight on what I have coming up because you may have some buyers for it. And they'd love that and say, look, I'll send it over. It'll be streamlined. Tell me where I need to be in backup position. They're usually going to tell you close to the price that was accepted. Get it signed. Go to your buyers and say, guess what you risk by going in backup position? Nothing. No money goes in escrow. You can buy another house if something better comes up. Just go into backup position because if it falls out, guess what, you guys? They can't go back to the open market. You just cut out all the competition because it's an accepted backup contract. You will have 72 hours to get your money into escrow and move forward with that contract. So just keep that in mind. I know we're at 10 o'clock. Next week, we'll issue what we're going to talk about. Anybody want to make any suggestions? Not everybody at once?
Maybe lead generation. That's always a good one, right?
Okay, let's do lead generation for listings. Matt Battiata, you're going to take the lead.
Pete, I wanted to add one last thing that I just had written down. I didn't mention, but it's really good. So, you know, we're all in multiple offer situations, and occasionally I have a smart buyer's agent that calls me up when I have and it's very common. We have coming soon, right, for a week, and then we're going to show it over the weekend, and we're going to look at offers on Monday. I've had a few agents over the years call me up and say, hey, listen, and I do this too now. Call me up and say, listen, I know you're doing, big open house over the weekend or blah, blah, blah. But I'm sure the seller has a number where he would just accept an offer and take it off the market. So would you do me a favor? Can you just ask your seller, what is the number that he would just take and call it a day? And then over the weekend, you can still do all your open houses and everything you want to do, but you just take them as backups. And when an agent calls me and asks me that, I go, you know what? I'm sure there is a number. And I call the seller and I talk to him and there is a number. And sometimes I let that buyer know and they go, okay, we'll do it. And so always do that because that's how you avoid being in a multiple offer situation.
Yeah, you cut out the competition. I just did that last night, Matt. So I'm glad that you brought that up because, you know, even though the MLS says looking at all offers on Monday or Tuesday doesn't mean they won't accept one earlier. Don't say that to your buyers because then they'll lose faith in you if it goes pending prior and they get pinged on their phone that it went pending. So be aware of that. Matt, great input. Betty Gales, thanks for being on. Wolf, your camera's okay. We're done. You don't have to keep adjusting it. And Bobby, I love the hair products. We're going to start a whole hairline moving on up in your hair. All right. So, okay, Mitch, so sorry about the hair comments. Let's talk next week, how to leverage and get listing leads. Matt, you're on point next week. See everybody next week. Have a great weekend.
See you, everybody. Take care.
See you guys.